Operation Amotekun has reached a third stage in the lawmaking process. This public hearing is being held in most southwest state of Nigeria today. And Lagos APC executives throw weight behind APC leader Bola Tinubu for 2023 presidency. Party leaders say Tinubu deserves a chance. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye. Well, let's begin by telling you some of the stories that we're following. 2023 may be some years away and the politics of 2023 presidency might be too early to start the permutations. But of course, politicians are already defending their own. Today in Lagos, some new leaders of the All Progressives Congress APC are rooting for Bola Tinubu for 2023 presidency. They say, for merit's sake, the APC leader deserves a chance.
First and foremost, Bola Tinubu has all it takes to lead this country. And he has every fundamental right as a Nigerian to aspire. You can't take that. It's not left for Nigerians to either accept or not. It's now left for the party to decide who flags their ship as the presidential candidate come 2023. So whether he has briefed us or not, whether he's expressing any body language, whether people are against it or not, we are sure that he has everything to lead this nation. And this is a man who has contributed tremendously to what we call modern Nigeria. But the most important thing is merit. Who can take us to the place that Nigeria ought to be? Who can take us out of the doldrum? Who can articulate issues that would move Nigeria forward so that in the committee of nations we can hold our head high and say, yes, this is a country that we all can be proud of. And I think that's what is most important. So if we find that in Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, why not?
What is not too early is start looking for the right man with a pedigree, with the commitment, with the passion to take Nigeria out of the present troubled state that we have. That is not too early. And if anyone feels that bill, Asiwaju eminently feels that bill. There's no doubt about that.
You heard it? Well, you might be seeing some workings on the ground because you already heard from newspaper reports what the governor of Kaduna State has said about that. That, on one hand, is not our main focus tonight. But part of what we may be concerned with at the conversation tonight is intense pressure which continue to mount on the Supreme Court from politicians, especially the two Nigeria's biggest political parties, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP. They are pushing for the apex court to review and possibly reverse its judgment on Imo, Zamfara, and Bayelsa State, while the APC insists that the Supreme Court erred in its judgment on Zamfara and Bayelsa State. The PDP, on its part, maintains that its Imo State governorship candidate, Mr. Emeka Ihedioha, was wrongly removed from office by the apex court. The PDP says it's taken further steps to demand a review of the apex court judgment on the 2019 presidential elections. Yes, you heard it. You may think that that may have been laid to rest, but the PDP says they might be going to review the presidential election judgment. Well, the PDP and the APC are two separate news conferences today in Abuja. They continue to increase their pressure on the Supreme Court justices. The PDP says it is taking further steps to ask the Supreme Court to also review its judgment on the presidential election. The apex court has fixed February 26, 2020 for the review of its judgment on Bayelsa State. That's going to be on Wednesday, and March the 2nd, 2020 for Imo and Zamfara State. For a moment, let's take a look at what this means. I'm being joined on the program by a lawyer, Mr. Frank Tietie, to give us a sense of this kind of pressure on the Supreme Court and what this means for our democracy. our jurisprudence on our election and the way to go. Mr. Frank Tietie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mr. Tietie, what do you make of what is happening at the Supreme Court, especially the pressure from the politicians? APC and PDP at different press conferences today are saying they will put more pressure on the Supreme Court judges.
Oh, well, thank you, Sheung. I think it's more or less a pressure coming from the polity that is being expressed by the politicians. I think some of the decisions that have come from the Supreme Court have been quite hard to swallow by a majority of Nigerians. We started with Imo, but you know, the more dramatic was the case of Zamfara, which had a predominant APC party in power that actually, you know, engaged in the election. He took part in the general election and won majority popular vote. I mean, it's very difficult to understand if the Supreme Court says no, for one technical reason or the other, the APC having won all of those seats and won those elections, those elective positions, would that be said, will be stripped of all of that. So those kind of decisions are very hard to take. Section 14 of this constitution, of the Nigerian constitution, says we are a constitutional democracy, and democracy has to do with numbers. It's about popular majority votes. And if the APC in Zamfara got all of that for the governorship, for the senatorial seats, National Assembly, and State House of Assembly, it's difficult for the Supreme Court to take all that away. So there's the pressure from the ordinary man in Zamfara, for example, on the politicians that is being expressed, and that's what you see in the case of Imo and Bielsa. You find that it's difficult, the man coming forth from fourth now being declared in the case of Imo as now the governor. So these things are hard to take. But you see, one very commendable thing we must say is that the Supreme Court has opened its doors wide in the principle of fair hearing. Make your applications, and it has the inherent powers. It's not based on any law. It is based on the fact that it is a final court for it to review its own decisions with the intention of seeing to it that we are a democracy. We just have to find one way or the other to save those popular votes. They just can't be swept away just on the grounds of technicality. So the Supreme Court is burdened now with... yes.
Mr. Tietie, just quickly before we go into our main topic for tonight, for you, Zamfara looks like the extreme for you from what you're explaining. But now the PDP, for example, is saying they will dig up more cases in Kaduna, in some other state. They will dig up some cases, and especially the presidential election, they will dig it up and approach the Supreme Court. What is the implication for the Supreme Court and our democracy?
I think we should be careful here not to abuse the legal process. Yes, the Supreme Court does have the power, the inherent powers to review its process. Yes, I'm particular about Zamfara State because, you know, we had a ruling APC and a predominant state, a state that is predominantly of the APC and that had wide majority popular votes, winning seats, governorships, senatorial, and State House of Assembly. You know, it's difficult when you say in a democracy, a party that didn't ask for a post, that the party that isn't popular now becomes the leader, now becomes the representative, now becomes the senator. It's very difficult. So these are clear and obvious, you know, anomalies that really require the attention of the Supreme Court when it attempts to use its inherent powers to review. Of course, let us not make a mockery of the whole exercise that we now be contemplating going to, you know, review that of the presidency, presidential election and other elections. No, that's not the case. We are seeing a manifest situation where the votes need to be saved, where the principle of popular majority in a democracy needs to be emphasized. And that's where we are. And that's the reason why the Supreme Court needs to really address these issues. Zamfara, it appears to be, when it happened, it was so, you know, it was so terrifying that, it kept a very, very deafening silence. But since this window has happened, I think it was wise that the Supreme Court opened its doors wide for Zamfara to be examined along with these other perceived cases of anomalous judgment. I believe that the Supreme Court would do good justice to these matters.
We'll see how that pans out. Let's go to our main discussion for tonight, everyone. Across most states of the Southwest region, today, public hearings have held on the security outfit initiated by the leaders of the Southwest region. codenamed Operation Amotekun. The public hearing stage is a third stage in the lawmaking process, which shows that the process to legalize the Amotekun initiative has progressed considerably. Let's take a look at it now from Lagos State. So all of the public hearing is held in some of these states. What it then means is that after the public hearing, there will be a gazetting, and afterwards, there will be a committee stage, and of course, it will go back to the clerk reading it again and for debate on the floor, and it then means that it will be domesticated as a law in some of these states. Let's take a look at some of the states where these activities are held today. Let's take a look at Ondo and Ogun State. Okay, let me bring our guest tonight on the program to discuss this issue. I have joining me also from our Abuja studio, Mr. Abayomi Akeremale. He's a former commissioner of police, and Mr. Frank Tete, of course, you heard him earlier. Let me come to Mr. Akeremale. You have, at one point or the other, said what is needed to be done is to legalize the process. Now that has been done today, what do you make of what is happening across the Southwest states?
Well, even at my initial outing, I did mention that the Constitution is a dynamic document which can be altered to reflect changes in the society. But as long as that Constitution is in existence and has not been amended, the provision of that Constitution must be respected. It's in force. The Constitution of Nigeria, if you read the preamble to the Constitution, that says, we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live together in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble entity under God, have decided to enact for ourselves this Constitution. I go further to say that this Constitution shall have binding force on all authorities and persons in Nigeria. And the people who are to operate this Constitution, they took an oath of office. You see, in the preamble to a Constitution, that preamble is the compass through which you read the provision of the Constitution. Is the compass for your navigation through the Constitution.
Mr. Akeremale, are you saying, legally speaking, that even this process of domesticating, of domesticating it is not enough for Amotekun to exist?
I have not said that it should not exist. I'm telling you that there must be what we call a condition precedent. And I'm saying that until when that condition precedent is fulfilled, I'm taking you to a point that says that if any other law is inconsistent with the provision of this Constitution, that other law shall be null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. So even if there is a legal framework, you must examine that legal framework to make sure that the provisions of that law does not conflict with the provision of the Constitution of Nigeria. So I've not read the different versions of the legal backing they have, but I'm saying that if they want to do that, they have to amend the Constitution. Because...
So, I mean, that's what I'm asking in essence, Mr. Akeremale, that what is going on across these state assemblies is not enough. That's what you are saying.
No, I'm saying that as they are doing it, they must have at the back of their mind the provision that will not be inconsistent with the general Constitution. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they are not enough, but they must have at the back of their mind. Anybody reading it must also watch out to make sure that there is no provision that's inconsistent with the harmony and unity of Nigeria. Because if something is happening to anybody in Maiduguri, like if you look at the offense of homicide, it's universal. It doesn't matter whether it is in Bayelsa that they are killing people. What is bad is bad. So there should be a general provision that covers human beings, not particularly that it must be one section of the country.
Okay, so Mr. Kirimale, let's take a breather. We'll take our break, but when we come back, we'll ask the lawyer, Mr. Frank Tietie, what the state assemblies in the Southwest are doing and what will make Amotekun a living law in Nigeria and existing initiative that will work and the way to go about it. That's going to be next on the program. Join us again, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get back to the conversation on Amotekun. The Southwest Security Initiative is come back to the front burner now across the country. A lot of people talking about what this means for security in Nigeria. After we were talking about all of that, Southeast governors are also talking about the Southeast Initiative. Earlier on our sister program on Channels Television today, a governor in the Southeast region, the governor of the Southeast Forum, had said that the Southeast region is perhaps the most secured region in the country, and talking about a Southeast Security Initiative. So let's talk about how these will work in the Southwest region. Mr. Frank Tietie is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst, and Mr. Bayomi Akirimale, we gain the experience of his expertise serving in the Nigerian police force. He's a former commissioner of police. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Mr. Frank Tietie, give us a legal insight on what this means altogether. Mr. Kirimale's point of view is that we must tinker with the Constitution before all of these things can play out properly. So, in essence, is it that the domestication of this law in the state is not enough? Is that what it means?
Oh, well, we must first, personally, I would start by commending the governors of the Southwest for that very bold and responsive move of creating a security that is responding to this kind of embarrassment that has been faced by several governors across Nigeria, where they are governors over people that they don't seem to have powers to control police or security enough to protect them. You know, these are very sad times and pitiable times for persons who are governor. If I were a governor, I would be a very frustrated man, like Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, who's complaining that whose people are being killed. My people, actually, that's where I'm from, being killed daily by Moradin herdsmen, and they can't just do anything, keep complaining. So the governors of the Southwest have responded. So, but you see, these are mixtures of political legal issues. Now, first, now you deal with the political matter in the sense that a presiding governor, you know, when you look at Section 2 of the Constitution, Nigeria is a federation of states and the FCT. And you must understand that in a federation, when you also look at Section 14, again, the popular Section 14, that places the primary responsibility of government to be security. So how do you now refer to yourself as a government authority when you cannot exercise any form of security, securing life and property over the people that voted you to lead them? I mean, it can be very frustrating to be a governor. Ask Samuel Otom in that matter, and he will tell you. But you see, I'm not even looking at it with kind of domestication. It is an exercise of the right of a state in Nigeria to legislate on a matter with regards to providing security, because security has that, there is no restriction in the Nigerian Constitution as to who to provide security. Yes, we can talk about specific issues with regards to firearms. I know the policeman who, you know, I know he will be very concerned about that. We refer to the issues of under Section 214 of the Constitution, which creates the Nigerian police force and makes it an exclusive police force. But no, this is not the matter here. We are talking about a governor and a State House of Assembly exercising its responsibility of providing security, thinking out of the box without offending any law, without offending any provision of the Constitution, in providing security for the people.
Mr. Tietie, one fundamental issue is that this is not going to be a state-by-state issue. It's a regional cooperation over the security outfit. How would a regional concept work in a federal system of government?
Let us have some sense of history here. We've essentially been a federation for a very long time. We can't carry on in self-deception by thinking that Southwest Nigeria has not been a region, or Northern Nigeria has not been a region of its own, or Eastern Nigeria has not been a region of its own. It didn't matter. We know the ignoble and not too noble reasons why states were created in 1963 and subsequently before the Civil War in 1967. We know those reasons. We have essentially operated as a region. But by the way, if we must deal with it as a legal matter, if we begin to have common clauses in different laws of various states that allows them, or that allow them, I would say, because of different clauses, a common clause that allows them to cooperate. There is nothing wrong with that. We still have vestiges of regionalism all over the place. When you think of Ahmadu Bello University, you think about Bank of the North, you think about the Agbomabe Bank in Southwest, you understand. But you see, there is nothing wrong when you cooperate for an essential reason
so
to
in
protect
that
life.
sense, let's talk practicals now. Let's leave the legal aspect and let's ask Mr. Akirimale, how do you think these initiatives, the Amotekun on one hand, the Southeast Initiative on another hand, practically speaking, you cannot take away the police will be there, but how can this practically make sense and ensure safety of Nigerians?
Well, the rule of law is the foundation of any sane society. And I did mention that time that Lagos State is an exception to the rule, in that Lagos State made neighborhood watch to work. It's working in the sense that they subjected themselves to the rule of law, they collaborated with the police, and they are working together. They did not violate any law. But when they said they were going to bear arms, but neighborhood watch in Lagos was not bearing arms, and they have been working very well. And I've been saying that community policing had been in existence even before this regional formation of security. Because if you read some of the customary laws of our local government, they say if you don't like the police or you don't want to go to them, go to the chairman of your local government and tell them there's one man in our street that is constituting a nuisance and it's a problem to us. And the chairman of the local government can invite the divisional police officer and say that man should be bound over. They'll bind him over and they tell him to be reporting to the police every 2 weeks. By so doing, that's community policing. What I'm saying, my friend has not been able to what will I call it, to verify my argument that the law does not allow any consistency with the federated constitution. Let me give you an example. The federal government is spending billions of naira on disarmament in Niger Delta. And when the Niger Delta heard that the Southwest is now forming its own regional security outfit, they decided that they wanted their own regional security outfit and that they should be armed. How do you reconcile those two positions? That they should not give arms to some people in Niger Delta, and at the same time, the government is spending arms that they should surrender arms. Can you reconcile those two positions?
Mr. Akirimale, I mean, this is a matter that will, for a while to come, be a major debate in the land until we see very much this to the very end. Mr. Abayomi Akirimale, former Commissioner of Police, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And Mr. Frank Tietie, a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. But that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Akimale. Bye for now.